Has Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega been the best built feud of the year? I'm about to get into that, but first I'd like to ask you, if you're a big wrestling fan, hit that like button down below on this video. If you love wrestling topics, hit that like button. And if you want to see what my YouTube channel is all about, check out the links in the description. So let's get right on into this. I don't do much New Japan wrestling, but this caught my attention. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. This all got started in October when Chris Jericho started to tweet at Kenny Omega how he was the best in the world and so forth. At first I thought it was Chris Jericho being Chris Jericho doing his snick and whatever, but we have Chris Jericho interrupts Kenny Omega later on, and bam, the match gets made. Chris Jericho versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom. Nice video for it to be displayed. The crowd just popped, and this is quite interesting. So recently, Chris Jericho, another video again, and he beats down Kenny Omega. And look, this is one of the better beatdowns of the entire year. I gotta say, what really put it over the top is that when Jericho beat down Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega, he picks Omega's head up, and it's loaded, well not loaded, but the blood is coming through from the head. This is why we can't outlaw blood in wrestling, because there are several emotions that go through fans' minds when watching wrestling. A good match, they're excited, but nothing tugs at the heartstrings like seeing someone covered in blood. Like, it doesn't have to be covered, but when you see somebody bleeding, it's like, oh man. And that's what you got when Chris Jericho did that to Kenny Omega. It was like, oh man, that just took it to another level. So looking at how the feud has gone forward, I really liked, my favorite segment was when Omega attacked Jericho just out of nowhere. It was like Jericho was talking to Kenny, Omega just jumped over the table, and it's like, oh, it's on. And that was a fantastic segment. Jericho fights back, and I have an interesting comparison to that, which I'll post another video later. It compares greatly to a Sting Rick Rude segment from the early 90s, and I'll post that at a later date. But sticking on the topic here, Jericho was a real idiot to the reporters, and at the press conferences, and that was just awesome. Peak Jericho. And I gotta say, to the question, has this been the best built feud of the year? I gotta say yes. If you forget things throughout the wrestling year. You know, I can't remember everything, but I gotta say at this current moment, yes, I feel like this has been the best built feud of the year. Because, and this is a bad commentary on WWE, by the way. It's crazy how Chris Jericho can be in New Japan, return to New Japan for all but a few days, and some of his best stuff is in this feud, and some of his WWE stuff just doesn't compare, because this is the power of letting the wrestlers have a say in the feud. Much like Chris Jericho had a say in the Shawn Michaels feud. That was just fantastic, and this is fantastic. You know, the things that Chris Jericho said in that press conference, you can just tell that's not something that's scripted. You don't just script that for Chris Jericho. He just comes out and he says it, and it comes out authentic and really well. And I gotta say, I'm looking forward to this. This one match in itself has made me think, okay, this pay-per-view is must see. And I know there's plenty of other fantastic matches that are going to be on Wrestle Kingdom, but like Chris Jericho said, this is the main event. I mean, no disrespect to Okada, but this is the main event. This is what's drawing the most buzz. This is the match that everyone wants to see. And leave it up to Chris Jericho to come up with the fantastic tagline of Alpha versus Omega. That is just fantastic. And the Alpha Club shirt that's another money maker right there. Like I said, I'm not in the wrestling t-shirts as much anymore, but that Alpha Club shirt is nice. So looking at this feud, I'm highly interested in it. It has created a lot of buzz, and who knows what's next? You know, we're not even to January 4th yet. We're not even to Christmas yet. So I expect a lot more throughout this feud, and it seems like every time they come up with something, they're hitting 10 out of 10. You know, the internet wrestling community or whatever, it's hopping right on it. It's like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm looking forward to what's next. If something comes next, I'll probably make another video on it. But as it stands right now, I'm highly impressed with what's going on with Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. And it will be a fantastic matchup at Wrestle Kingdom.